With practice exercise 7.14 contains, make sure as always you attempt the problem yourself. But now let's go over and try to do this together. So the first thing we want to do is write a static method named contains. We know it's static and it's going to return a boolean, and it accepts two integers of array type as parameters. So we'll make it a public static boolean. It's going to be called contains, and inside of here we have our arrays. So we'll do int, it's called a1, and we also have int with our brackets a2. So that is going to be our header. Now inside of here is what we're going to want to code. We know we want to compare whatever is in this second list to whatever's in this first list. It can be of different sizes, so don't hard code it. And there's also a restriction down here. More instructions right here as well. So for this one, we are just going to look through this example, and we can tweak it if we have any errors. With this, we want to take this and compare it with these three, and then these, and so on and so forth. So we want a for loop that compares it to everything inside of here. Now there is a restriction on this for loop. This for loop, once we hit right here, these are the last three we want to compare. We don't want to compare anything else, because otherwise we're going to have an out of bounds error. So we're going to do like a1.length minus a2.length, and this is for, or this is so we don't have an out of bounds. So we can take this and literally put it inside of our for loop. For our for loop, we're going to have a for int a is equal to 0. A has to be less than the two lengths right next to each other, and then we have a plus plus. So inside of this for loop is where we are going to want to do this comparison. Now every single time we do this, we are going to want to see if this exists inside of here, right? So let's take what we have here and let's compare it to this right here. So that's going to mean we're going to need another for loop, because if we compare this to what we have here, let's say this one is correct. Well, we have to run to the next one. So this is going to be b, and b is equal to 0, and it's going to be as long as our b is less than our a2, because this is for our second list, dot length. And then we'll just do b plus plus. Inside of here is where we are going to want our condition. So in our condition, we're going to have an if statement, right? And the easiest way to do this is actually if we break out of this, if this is untrue. If we can break out of this, we'll just go and look at this next one, right? But what if it is true? Well, we're just going to want to then return true, right? But we don't know that until we hit the end here. So we can do like a counter, or we can automatically have this for loop right here before it even initializes. We can have it set to true, and we can check for a false statement here, and if this false statement like executes, then it's going to change our true to false. So let's make a boolean right here. This will make more sense in a second. Boolean, we'll call this match. We'll set it equal to true. With this, we'll come into our if statement, and we're going to say if our, we'll look at our current a2. If our current a2, right, we're using index b, does not equal to our a1 with a plus the b, because remember we're going to be incrementing this, so we're going to be incrementing through here, right? We can use this. This is a pretty good way to use a nested for loop. If this is not the case, we are going to change our match to false. That's floss, so this should be false. So match is going to be set equal to false, and then after this we are just going to want to simply break. We can end this line and this if statement, we can end this for loop, and then after this we want to check if this is still true, right? Because if it's true, that means we found something in here. So let's say if our match, we could say is equal to true, or if we just say match like this, it's gonna automatically, that is true. So if match, we want to return true. Otherwise, we're going to keep going through this for loop. Now, if we break out of this for loop, then obviously we've never hit true. So we can just return false. So return false like this. Let's press submit. And we've reached the end of the file without parsing because we didn't complete our method. So bracket right there is important. Make sure you declare your variables when they're inside of our for loop. I forgot to do that here. We passed 6 out of 8 tests, so we didn't pass everything. Let's see what we missed here. So we're going to run through our outer loop, and what it looks like I did here is because we start at a is equal to 0, right? And then we subtract the length. Well, let's subtract 3 off this. We subtract these 3. So we actually never check for this and then these. What we want to have here is less than equals, so it actually goes up to this right here. Or we can simply add 1. So less than or equals or add 1, it's easier just to say less than equals. We've passed 8 out of 8 tests with this, and that is the code used to solve for this practice it.